Rockefeller controlled 90% of American oil at age 31, not by drilling more wells, by buying out bankrupt competitors. He understood something you still don't grasp. Wealth doesn't come from working hard. It comes from understanding power. J.P. Morgan saved the American economy twice. Not because he was a patriot, because he controlled the flow of the country's money. When you control what others need, you control others. Machiavelli wrote The Science of Power 500 years ago. The Rothschilds turned that science into trillions of dollars. While you struggle to survive, entire dynasties use Machiavellian principles to dominate civilizations. There is a map, a set of coordinates that separates those who command from those who obey, those who own from those who serve, those who control from those who are controlled. This map is not in universities. It is not sold in popular books. It is transmitted in silence, from power to power, like predator DNA. Vanderbilt controlled railroads, Carnegie controlled steel, Ford controlled production, Gates controlled software, Bezos controlled e-commerce. They all followed the same Machiavellian map of power. You were educated to be governed. They were educated to govern. You were programmed to obey structures. They were programmed to create structures. You were trained to follow rules. They were trained to write rules. Today, you will discover the map that turned common men into financial emperors. You will see how true power works, and why some are born to command, while others are born to serve. Standard Oil started as an ordinary refinery in Cleveland. In 20 years, it controlled the planet. How? Rockefeller didn't compete. He eliminated competition. He bought bankrupt competitors for pennies. He made secret deals with railroads to transport oil cheaper than rivals. He sold at cost price in regions where competitors existed until they went broke. Then he doubled prices. You call this unfair. Machiavelli calls it smart. A prince must be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Rockefeller was a fox when he needed subtlety, and a lion when he needed strength. True power is strategic adaptability. You believe power comes from money. Lie. Money comes from power. Power is the ability to make others do what you want, whether they want to or not. Money is just one of the tools of power. Disney doesn't have power because it has money. It has power because it controls narratives that shape children's minds on the planet. Google doesn't have power because of money. It has power because it controls the information you access. Facebook is not powerful because of profit. It is powerful because it controls human social connections. Real power is control over fundamental needs. Who controls food controls bodies. Who controls information controls minds. Who controls money controls societies. Who controls energy controls civilizations. Musk doesn't want to sell electric cars. He wants to control the mobility of the future. He doesn't want to explore space. He wants to control the colonization of other planets. He doesn't want to sell internet. He wants to control global communication via satellite. The powerful think in decades. You think in months. The powerful build systems. You solve problems. The powerful create dependencies. You create temporary solutions. First law of power. Who controls the essential controls everything. Water, energy, food, information, transport. Identify what is truly essential and position yourself between people and that need. Power is not having a lot of money. Power is making others dependent on you for money. When Henry Ford doubled his workers' wages in 1914, newspapers called him a crazy socialist. Ford knew exactly what he was doing, creating consumers for his own products. He who has the people as his friend will never lack men or money. Machiavelli understood that true control comes from making people believe they depend on you voluntarily. Ford's genius: workers earned enough to buy the cars they themselves produced. Ford profited twice, paying wages and receiving it back via sales. He created a closed system where he controlled both production and consumption. The architecture of modern control works the same way. Amazon doesn't just want to sell products. It wants to be the infrastructure for all world e-commerce. Google doesn't just want to give answers. It wants to be the intermediary for all human search for knowledge. Apple doesn't just want to sell devices. It wants to be the complete ecosystem of your digital life. You see products, they build ecosystems. You see transactions, they build dependencies. You see businesses, they build empires that will last for generations. Netflix started by renting DVDs. Today, it controls what billions of people watch in their free time. It did not evolve the product. It evolved control. From physical product to digital platform, from rental to streaming, from distribution to original production. Each step increased dependence and decreased alternatives. The perfect architecture: create need, monopolize supply, eliminate alternatives, gradually increase dependence. By the time you realize it, you can no longer live without them. Uber eliminated traditional taxi drivers by creating superior convenience. After taxi drivers went broke, Uber increases prices and decreases payments to drivers. Airbnb eliminated small hotels by offering private homes. After dominating the market, it increases fees and controls hosts. Machiavelli warned, "He who abandons what is done for what should be done runs more to ruin than to preservation." They abandoned traditional morality and did what works. Result: they control your life. True control is invisible. You believe you choose, but your options have been pre-selected. You believe you decide, but your decisions have been influenced. You believe you are free, but you live in a comfortable prison built by others. There's a trinity of power that governs civilizations: force, persuasion, and resources. Machiavelli taught that princes must master all three. First phase: force, coercive power. As it is not possible to unite love and fear, it is much safer to be feared than loved. Force is not physical violence. It is the capacity to impose irreversible consequences. Walmart does not use violence. It uses economic force. It arrives in a small town, sells products below cost, until all local businesses go bankrupt. Then, it is the only supplier and increases prices. Anyone who tries to compete afterward is economically crushed. Amazon did this with bookstores. Netflix did this with video rental stores. Uber did this with taxis. Spotify did this with music stores. Modern force is the capacity to economically destroy any resistance. Second phase: persuasion, ideological power. Men judge more by the eyes than by the hands. Persuasion is making others want what you want. It is convincing them that your interests are their interests. Apple convinced billions that they need to exchange their iPhone every year, not out of technical necessity, for social identity. They created a technological religion where being different means buying the same products everyone buys. Google convinced the world it wants to organize information to help humanity. In reality, it organizes information to sell your attention to advertisers. It transformed apparent altruism into profitable surveillance. Third phase: resources, economic power. One of the best fortresses that exists is not to be hated by the people. Resources is not having money. It is controlling access to the resources others need. BlackRock manages $10 trillion. It does not own this money. It controls the investments of others. Through this control, it influences the corporate policies of all the world's major companies. Without being elected, without transparency, without accountability, they control oil, you pay for fuel. They control central banks, you suffer inflation. They control media, you consume narratives. They control technology, you accept terms of use. They control resources, you work to access resources. The perfect trinity: force when necessary, persuasion when possible, resources always. Whoever dominates the three faces dominates everything and everyone. You have access to crumbs of each face. They possess all three completely. There are patterns that repeat in all great fortunes, codes that Machiavelli identified and billionaires applied, three principles that transform mortals into financial gods. Code 1. Timing. Necessity, empire. He who neglects what is done for what should be done heads for ruin. Bill Gates did not invent computers. He identified the exact moment the world would need standard software. 1980, IBM dominated hardware but scorned software. Gates bought an operating system for $50,000 and licensed it to IBM while retaining the rights. When personal computers exploded, Gates controlled the software for all of them. Bezos did not invent e-commerce. He identified 1994 as the exact moment for online bookstores. Zuckerberg did not invent social networks. He identified 2004 as the moment to digitally connect universities. The code: identify emerging needs before others realize them. Position yourself as the unique solution. When the need explodes, you explode with it. Code 2. Control, please, scale, domination. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Control without scale is useless. Scale without control is dangerous. Rockefeller controlled refineries, control, and expanded nationally, scale. Disney controls intellectual property, control, and distributes globally, scale. Amazon controls logistics, control, and operates worldwide, scale. You think small, how to earn more money. They think systemic, how to control entire markets. You want financial independence. They want the financial dependence of others. Code 3. Invisibility plus inevitability plus perpetuity. He who is well regarded today, if he is lacking tomorrow, will not be lamented. True power is invisible until it is inevitable. Vanguard and BlackRock control trillions but are invisible to ordinary people. When you discover their power, it will already be too late to resist. Google was just a search engine until it controlled all world information. Amazon was just a bookstore until it controlled all online commerce. They disguise themselves as useful services until they become essential. When dependence is established, they reveal their true power. But then you can no longer live without them. The codes have worked for centuries. The Medici applied them in the Renaissance. The Rothschilds applied them in the Napoleonic Wars. Rockefeller applied them in the Industrial Age. Gates applied them in the digital age. You know the codes now. The question is, will you apply them or continue to be applied by them? Since a prince must know how to use the nature of a beast, he should choose the fox and the lion. Machiavelli knew absolute power demands absolute sacrifices. Howard Hughes died alone, paranoid, with 15-centimeter nails, weighing 40 kilos, in a hotel room. He owned airplanes, casinos, movie studios, oil companies, but he did not possess peace, trust, or genuine love. The first price of power. Relationships become transactions. Friends turn into suppliers. Family turns into impatient heirs. Romantic partners turn into fortune hunters. Children turn into competitors for inheritance. Steve Jobs died reconciling with the daughter he abandoned. Warren Buffett admitted he was an absent father. Elon Musk has relationships that last less than rocket launches. Jeff Bezos lost half his fortune in the most expensive divorce in history. You cannot be vulnerable when everyone sees you as prey. You cannot trust when trust is interpreted as weakness. You cannot show emotions when emotions are used against you. The second price, paranoia, becomes survival. When you have real power, everyone wants to destroy you to take your place. Every relationship hides a hidden agenda. Every approach can be a trap. Every shared piece of information can turn into a weapon against you. Pope Alexander VI, Borgia, slept with a sword next to his bed. He had tasters for every meal. He wore armor under his papal vestments, because he knew that power attracts enemies like blood attracts sharks. The third price, you become a prisoner of your own empire. You cannot go on vacation without stocks plummeting. You cannot get sick without markets panicking. You cannot die without fortunes being disputed like carrion. Power consumes you to build you. It isolates you to protect you. It hardens you to keep you alive. You lose humanity to gain financial divinity. Machiavelli warned, "He who abandons the life one lives for the one should live, heads for one's own ruin." They abandoned normal life to live an extraordinary life. Result, they control the world, but lost their soul. The cruel irony, you fight your whole life to have the freedom to do what you want. When you finally have the power for it, you want nothing more than more power. Do you still want to pay this price? Trade humanity for divinity, solitude for absolute control. One's own arms are composed of subjects, or of citizens, or of your servants. All others are mercenary or auxiliary. Machiavelli knew that true power uses weapons that victims don't even realize exist. Weapon 1, information as control. The Rothschilds received news of European battles via carrier pigeons before governments knew the results. They bought and sold bonds based on privileged information. By the time others discovered the results, the Rothschilds had already profited trillions. Today, Wall Street high-frequency trading uses algorithms that process news in microseconds. They make thousands of transactions before humans read the first line. Information remains the deadliest weapon of capitalism. Google knows what you are going to search for before you know you want to search. Facebook knows who you will break up with before you fight. Amazon knows what you will buy before you feel like it. Information is the power to predict and control human behavior. Weapon 2, debt as modern slavery. The best way to destroy the enemy is to make him our friend. Mayor Rothschild discovered that it is better to enslave through debt than through chains. The bank lends money it doesn't own, created digitally, and charges real interest for decades. You work your whole life to pay for a house that the bank lent without owning. The bank profits twice, from your debt and by lending your own money to others. The IMF lends to poor countries with conditions that ensure they will never be able to pay. Result: entire countries work for international banks. National sovereignty becomes an illusion. Nations become human resource farms. Weapon 3, narrative as reality. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few feel what you are. Whoever controls the narrative controls the perception of reality. Decades of Hollywood movies sell the American dream. Work hard, Be honest, get rich. Meanwhile, American social mobility plunges to historical lows. The American dream becomes an anesthetic to keep people working in a system that doesn't work. Disney sells princesses to girls and superheroes to boys. It creates unrealistic expectations about relationships and masculinity. When reality does not correspond to fantasy, people buy more Disney products to escape frustration. The three weapons work simultaneously. They have information you don't have. They indebt you with money they don't own, and they control narratives that shape your dreams and fears. You fight against visible enemies, while invisible weapons destroy your financial freedom. When you realize you are in a war, you have already lost before you started. Machiavelli taught, war is not avoided, it is merely postponed to the advantage of others. The war for your money has already begun. You haven't even noticed. Fortune is a woman, and it is necessary, wishing to keep her submissive, to beat her and to contradict her. The time for transformation has arrived. From subject to sovereign, from controlled to controller, you discovered that power is not money, it is control over needs. You discovered that wealth comes from invisible architectures of domination. You discovered the three faces of power: force, persuasion, and resources. You discovered the secret codes: timing, control, and inevitability. You discovered the price: solitude, paranoia, eternal responsibility. You discovered the weapons: information, debt, and narrative. Now you have two choices that will define your existence. Choice 1. Return to the comfort zone. Close this video. Go back to your life as an employee. Continue believing that the world is fair and meritocratic. Continue exchanging hours for money. Continue being a product in others' systems. Continue sleeping in the matrix. It is easier, it is more moral, it is more comfortable, and it guarantees you perpetual mediocrity. Choice 2. Accept the nature of power. The world is brutal. It always has been. It always will be. People who accept this reality govern people who live in illusions, not because they are evil, because they are realists. If you choose this option, take the Machiavellian oath that separates princes from commoners. I accept that power governs the world, not justice. I accept that morality is a luxury for those who already control resources. I accept that I must be a fox when I need cunning and a lion when I need strength. From today, I do not seek to be loved. I seek to be respected. I do not seek approval. I seek results. I do not work for money. I make money work for me. This oath does not make you a villain. It makes you strategic. It does not make you immoral. It makes you effective. It does not make you cruel. It makes you free to apply cruelty when necessary. The transformation begins now. Stop solving problems and start owning solutions. Stop competing and start eliminating competition. Stop being a product and start controlling production. Identify emerging needs. Position yourself as the unique solution. Build systematic dependence. Eliminate alternatives gradually. Become inevitable. Machiavelli wrote for princes who governed cities. You can govern your own financial life by applying the same principles. The final question is not whether you can be powerful. It is whether you have the courage to accept the responsibility of power. Getting rich is not complicated. It is brutally Machiavellian. The question is, can you withstand the brutality?